Hello, lovely viewers. This is Josephine Benson, and on this channel, I am Josephine Greatness. In today's video, I'm going to take you through how to fill out the Partogram, which is the main tool that is given to you in the OSCE Top 2021 Midwifery OSCE APIE station. That's if you get a labor scenario and you have to, perform vaginal examination as part of your assessment. So previously, most of the scenarios that were coming in the OSCE Top 2021 APIE station for midwives was just, antenatal and postnatal scenarios. But recently, labor cases has now been added to the scenarios. And so if you get a scenario where your patient is in labor and is due for a vaginal examination, you are expected to perform that examination. And instead of you filling out the meals chart, you are given the partograph or the Partogram to fill out. If you are interested in getting to know how to fill out the Partograph, then stay tuned. If you have a chart, a Partograph, a spare Partograph chart with you, get it ready, your pencils, your pens, erasers, and let's fill out a Partograph together. So let's go straight into filling out the Partogram. So as you can see here, this is how the Partogram looks like. So if you've been a midwife in your home country before, I'm sure you filled a Partograph before, and so you know how a Partograph looks like. Just that there are some tiny little variations from the Partograph, especially those of us that come from Ghana are used to. There are some little variations because in Ghana, the Partograph, we have 2 lines in it. 2 lines at the part of the labor progress, which is the alert and the action line, which is not which doesn't appear in the United Kingdom, UK Partograph. All right, so let's go straight into it and let's try to fill out this Partograph. Okay, so when we take the Partograph, we have 4 main parts of it. Okay, don't mind me because my printer, the printer couldn't print it out as one whole stuff because it's a 2-page something. Okay, so on every Partograph, we have 4 main parts to fill, which is the fetal well-being, maternal well-being, and then progress of labor, plus patient details, patient personal details. All right, so let's go straight into it. So we are going to go through from step to step how we should fill it. So the first part that we will have to fill here is the patient details. But for examination's sake, because it's an exam, as part of the patient details, we also have the, the candidate name. So here, it's very, very important you put your name there, because if you fill out the Partograph to the best that you can, but then you leave your name there, it is unfortunately going to be a go back, because the examiners are not going to know who in particular filled out this Partogram. So let's say, for example, your name is Vida Henson. So you put your name there. That's the candidate name. All right. And then we come to the patient details. So let's say our patient is Amy Hall. So you just put Amy Hall there. Make sure you fill it out. Okay. Sometimes you may have some of these parts already pre-filled, but then don't make your mind fixated on the fact that it's going to be pre-filled. So just have a look at it. If it's not been pre-filled, make sure you fill it out. So our patient is Amy Hall, and then we are going to fill out the rest of the patient's details. So we have here the patient obstetric history. So this is gravida. Yeah. So if the patient is how many pregnancies has the patient had, I take it as though, since you are going to write the OSCE, it means that you've been a midwife before. Okay, so this gravida and para, I'm not going to go into details with that. We all know what gravida means: number of pregnancies. Para is number of births or deliveries that the patient has had. So let's say, for the sake of this particular recording. Let's say our patient, this is the second pregnancy, so gravida 2, and then the patient has given birth to 1 child, para 1. All right, and then let's say, for example, the hospital number is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6. All right, and then here we have the patient's blood group. So let's say, for example, our patient is blood group O, rhesus positive. Okay, so remember that in OSCE you don't do abbreviations. Okay, so somebody may say, okay, let's just write rhesus positive. Like sometimes we put, let me use a pencil to make that example. So all I'm saying is that just make sure you don't abbreviate anything in your OSCE exam. So you can see I've spelled the rhesus in 4. All right, I've spelled the rhesus. Somebody may say RH positive. Please don't do it that way. Do it this way. Write it in 4, rhesus positive. So blood group O, rhesus positive. And then here, the next part, the next line. So I'm going horizontally. Okay, so the next line here, we have date of admission. So usually the scenario will tell you the date and the time, and it will go like, you know, assume it is today and the time is 1400 hours. So let's say, for example, it is today. I'm making this video on the 11th of May. So let's say 11th May 2024. Okay, and then the time of admission, the scenario will tell you, as I've already mentioned, assume it is today and the time of admission is 1400 hours. So we can put 14. For the sake of this, please, when you go for your test, read and know the time you've been asked to assume it is. I'll stress this, that when you are asked to assume it is 1400 hours as admission time, just stick to that, irrespective of the time you are writing your exam. It could be that you are writing the exam early in the morning, like let's say 6 a.m. or 8 a.m. The test or the scenario is asking you to assume it is 1400 hours. So just write that there. All right. Okay. For the sake of the exam. And then in the scenario, if the patient, this part is ruptured membranes. So if the patient has already ruptured membranes, it's going to tell you what time the membranes was ruptured. So let's say, for example, the membranes ruptured at, so remember again, this is where the assumption of the time of admission comes in. So if the scenario told you that as part of the history, the woman ruptured membranes at 10 o'clock in the morning, that means that you are going to calculate, you are going to write the time the membranes ruptured. So if it is 10, you write 10. If it is 11, write 11 o'clock. Okay. Okay. So if membranes have ruptured, you just write the yes. Okay. And then hours of membrane. So for this particular scenario, let's take it as though membranes hasn't ruptured yet. So we are going to write no. Ruptured membranes, no. Okay. And then hours of membranes ruptured, we write 0 because the membranes hasn't ruptured yet. All right. Or if the membranes have ruptured, you can write yes. Then in the scenario, you are going to get the number or what exact time the membranes ruptured. So if it's 10 o'clock in the morning and the scenario is asking you to assume it is 1400 hours as admission time, then 10 to 1400 is going to be 11, 12, 13, 14. That will be 4 hours. Okay. I hope you get it. Lovely. Now, let's move to the next line. So you can see here hours. I hope you can see it well. So you can see hours and time. So here at the hours part, it's written 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And then if it happens that, so this is the first hour, second hour, okay, third hour, fourth hour, fifth hour, and then you can continue 6, 7, 8, 9. So if it happens that you are going to use this partograph for more than 5 hours, you can keep, you can continue the numbering. All right, like that. Okay. And then we come to the time. So at the top here, everybody knows that the patient was admitted today. So what time did you start your partograph? So the fact that the patient was admitted at 1400 hours doesn't mean that you started your partograph at 1400. So let's say, for example, you started the partograph around, maybe you did your VE. So partograph, you are filling the partograph for labor scenarios, okay? And we use the partograph as a tool to monitor the progress of labor, fetal well-being, maternal well-being, as I've already mentioned, okay? So the exact time that you did your first examination, that is what you are going to put at this part where it is written time, all right? So let's say, for example, patient was admitted at 1400, but then you did your first examination at 15 o'clock, okay? So you put 15 o'clock there, all right? That's the first time you did your examination, all right? So that means the first hour was 1500, and then the second hour will be 1600, the third hour will be 1700, 18, and so on and so forth. So every hour when you come in, just put your time there and then continue. So for the sake of this exam, I'm taking it as though the first time we examine the patient is 1500 hours. Usually in the OSCE, you are not going to be the first person. So usually in the OSCE scenarios, you will see that somebody had already, the scenario usually goes as you came on shift and then the patient has been handed over to you. So by the time you are going to do your first examination as a candidate, the previous staff had already done one 4 hours ago, and then you have to continue. But for the sake of this video, let's take it as though we are the ones starting everything, okay? So when we get to the fetal heart rate, so this part talks about the fetal well-being, okay? And you can see that there are large boxes here. So hour 1, hour 2, hour 3, hour 3, that is hour, H-O-U-R, okay? So in the first hour, when you trace it down here, you can see that in this first hour, it's been divided into 2. So you can see a line going through the first hour. So that means the first small box is 30 minutes, and then the other small box is 30 minutes, because 60 minutes makes 1 hour, isn't it? Lovely. So the fetal heart rate, in the first stage of labor, fetal heart rate is auscultated every 15 minutes, okay? But on the partogram, as we can see here, the provision has been made for it to be plotted every 30 minutes. But guys, if you are at the point where you have to make your recommendations in the S-bar, the fact that the partograph has given you provision to plot it every 30 minutes doesn't change the guideline that fetal heart rate is auscultated every 15 minutes in established labor. Is that okay? So when you ask about the time, so in the scenario, it's going to tell you that this is the time you did it. So this is the time you did your examination, and that is what the time you are going to put there, okay? If it doesn't tell you the time, usually it gives you the admission time. Assume it is 1400 hours. And as I've already mentioned, usually the 4 hours ago will be already pre-filled, okay? So you have, fetal heart rate already plotted, and then you will have to come and plot the next 4 hours, because vaginal examination is 4 hourly, okay? So if it is not stated, the time you as a candidate has to do your examination, just confirm from the assessor. Assessor, can you please confirm the time I am, doing my next examination now? She will tell you. If it is in the scenario, it's possible she will tell you it is in the scenario already, okay? So let's say the time is 1500 hours and you've auscultated your fetal heart rate. So when you listen to your fetal heart rate, you ask the assessor, can you please confirm my baby's fetal heart rate? She will tell you. Now, you can see in here, if I should go a bit closer, you can see that there are these horizontal lines through. There are vertical lines, which I've spoken about, dividing the hour into 2, making it 30 minutes, 30 minutes. And then you can see the horizontal line. There is a deepened horizontal line there and there. One at the top, one at the bottom. So you can see that the fetal heart rate reading starts from 80, 90, 100, 110, 120, and so on and so forth, to 200. So the first line here, this first line here is 80. And so on and so forth. So the next one is 90, 100, 110. So the last line at the top here is the 200 beats per minute. We know that fetal heart rate, the unit is beats per minute, okay? So this deepened line here shows 100 on the 100 beats per minute, and then the other deepened line at the top is the 180 beats per minute. So anything below this one, the 100 beats, and anything above the 180 is termed as abnormal. So when you tell your assessor, the assessor is going to let you know what the fetal heart rate is. So let's say, for example, for the sake of this video, the fetal heart rate is 140 beats per minute. Okay, so again, these two vertical lines dividing the fetal the 1 hour into 30 minutes, that means that this line is the first time, which is 1500 hours. Okay, and then this next one will be 1530. Okay, and then this one will be 1600. So let me just put a 1600 time here because it's the next hour. Okay, so this is 1500, this is 1530, and then 1600. You can see the 16. So let's say, for example, the fetal heart rate for this first 30 minutes. So the first one is 140 beats per minute. So we indicate it with a dot. Okay, so you put a small dot on the 140 line. Already I've told you this is 80, 90. So if you are not sure and you have time, just be sure. She said 140. Assessor confirmed it is 140. So you go 80, 90, 100, 110, 120, 130, 140. Then you put your dot there as I've done. Okay, and then the next 30 minutes, let's say, for example, it was, I'm not saying that you are going to be auscultating every 30 minutes in the exam, but I'm just teaching you where to plot it. Okay, so if had it been that it was 145, we know that from here to here, from 140 to 150 is 10. Okay, so in the middle, just draw an imaginary line between the middle, and that will be 5. Okay, so from 140 to 150 is what? Intervals of 10. So half of 10 is 5. So let's say, for example, the next 30 minutes, or you had 145 beats per minute. Let's use the next line as the next 30 minutes. So 145 beats per minute will be here. Do you get it? Already, what I say to candidates is that it's going to be pre-filled. The last 4 hours will be pre-filled. So if you are confused, just look at how the last 4 hours pre-filled, dots were done, so that it can help you do your sense when it is your turn to plot your partograph. Okay, lovely. Now let's move on to amniotic fluid. So here it's asking that you find out whether the membranes have ruptured already, and as for the sake of this video, we said amniotic fluid was membranes hadn't ruptured. Okay, so that means it's intact. Okay, so if it is intact, we are going to put I here, I in capital, intact membrane. All right, hadn't be that it had ruptured, and so if the membranes had ruptured, what you are looking out for is the color of the liquor or the amniotic fluid. If it is meconium stained, you write a capital M. If it is clear liquor, you write C. If it is blood stained, you are going to write B there. But this time around, it is what? It is intact. So we've put I there. And then we go to molding. So the molding, it is saying molding or none. Okay? If there is molding, you are going to write in, just write it tiny because the box is small. You can put the molding, write the full word, MOULDING. If so, you can confirm from the assessor because it's a dummy you are going to do the examination on. So you verbalize what you do and then you confirm from the assessor. Assessor, can you please confirm if there is molding on the baby's sutures? So I assume we are all midwives already. That is why you're an international midwife. You know what molding is. So if the baby's the sutures are not, hasn't molded, it's going to be together. There is plus molding. It's going to, when the suture lines have overlapped, but then you can push it back into alignment. That is plus molding. If it is plus, it means that the suture lines have overlapped, but cannot come back into alignment with each other. That is called plus. But for the sake of this video, let's put it as there is no molding. So it's none. Okay? So you write none there. And then we come to cervical dilatation. This is the progress of labor aspect of the partograph. So here again, you can see the vertical lines and the horizontal lines. And the vertical lines, we can see these two boxes makes 1 hour. So we are still in the same hour. All right. So if you verbalize your vaginal examination to the assessor, then the next thing for you to do is to ask the assessor, can you please confirm the cervical dilatation? She will tell you. Let's say, for example, she said patient is 6 centimeters dilated. So we use an X cross, okay, to indicate cervical dilatation, okay. So let's say you did your examination at 1500 hours. So we know that this first box is the first 1500. The next box is 1530. Then this one is 15 sorry, 1600, then 1630, 17, 1730, 8, and so on and so forth. So the first time you did it, let's say if it was still the 1500, which we are using for the sake of this exam, and it's 6 centimeters, you are going to put an X through it. So this is 6 centimeters. You can see the vertical line. So it starts from 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. And you can see I've put the cross at the 6th line. Okay. And then 7, 8, 9, 10. All right. Then the next thing to do is the descent of presenting part. As you can see, the descent of presenting part in relation to the ischial spines. In other words, the station of the baby's head. Okay. So here you can see it starts from +2, +1, 0, -1, -2, -3. So when you do your VE, as part of the bishop's call, so we don't just put our fingers in and then come out just looking out for cervical dilatation, but we look at the relation of the presenting part to the ischial spine. So here you are looking at, okay, so when you go in for the vaginal examination with your examining fingers, you have to find out where the ischial spines are. Then the presenting part, is it in centimeters? So where the presenting part is in centimeters in relation to the ischial spine. So where is it? So +2 means that the presenting part is well engaged. Let's say, for example, the baby is presenting cephalic, okay? So that means that, or let's start from the -3 instead. So -3 means the baby's head is 3 centimeters above the ischial spines, okay? -2 means 2 centimeters above the ischial spines, up there, okay? And then 0 means, -1 also means 1 centimeter above the ischial spines. 0 means the baby's presenting part is at the level of the ischial spine. Then +1 means 1 centimeter below the ischial spine. So +1, baby is coming down. The descent of the head is coming down. Then +2 means 2 centimeters below the ischial spine. So +2 means the baby's head, immediately you put your finger there. In fact, you can touch the fetal head there. So for the sake of this exam, this video, let's take it as though the station or the descent of the presenting part in relation to the ischial spines is at the level of the ischial spine, that is 0. And so we plot it also with a 0 sign, okay? Remember, cervix is plotted X, and you can see there, it's written it for you, plot X. Descent, plot 0, okay? So just look at the partograph, it will give you the parameters, what it expects you to do, and do just that. You can also see a molding or none, okay? So descent, for the sake of this video, let's say it is 0. So we plot it at the 0 line. Yeah, at the 0 line there. So you can see this is +2. This is +2 line, +1 line, 0 line, -1 line, -2 line, -3 line. Okay, that is why we've plotted it over the 0 line, because we said the presenting part is at the level of the ischial spine. Now we go to contractions. Contractions is per every 10 minutes. So with contractions, if there is, so this determines how many contractions the woman is having in 10 minutes, okay? So that one, you have to confirm from the assessor, because when you do your fundal palpation, you're going to ask her to confirm if the patient is contracting, and if she is, how many contractions is she doing in 10 minutes? So we all know that anything between 0 to 20 in 10 minutes means we indicate it with dots, okay? So when the contraction starts, you are going to time it, okay? Okay? So you are going to time from when the contraction started to when the contraction ends, okay? So if the contraction sustains for less than 20 minutes, that's 0 seconds, 0 to 20 seconds, then you are going to indicate it with dots in the box. If the contraction lasts between 20 to 40 seconds, then it is going to be in slashes or lines, okay? If the contraction lasted more than 40 minutes, then you are going to shade the box. So for the sake of this video, let's say the woman is contracting 3 contractions in 10 minutes, lasting 35 seconds. So that means it is less than 40 seconds. So it's going to be slashes. So 3 contractions in 10 minutes, lasting 35 seconds, okay? That is it. Then if the assessor wants you to plot the next 30 minutes, you can ask her, what was it? And you get the answer. Now, the next thing is oxytocin. So if the woman is on augmentation, she's going to be on oxytocin infusion, okay? And the unit is oxytocin is IU, units per liter, okay? And then the next box, you can see mils per hour. So if there was 30 units of oxytocin in the infusion, it is all going to be in the scenario, okay? If it is not in the scenario, just confirm. There is no harm in confirming with the assessor. Assessor, please, is my patient already on oxytocin infusion? She will tell you no. Or if she wants to say, confirm from the scenario, read your scenario and then check. If there is no oxytocin, just leave that place blank. If there is oxytocin, confirm from her how many units in the infusion, okay? So if it is 30 international units in the infusion, you put 30. Let's say, for example, it is 30. Okay, so you put 30 IU there. 30 international units, because we know oxytocin is an international unit. Then, AXE, the mils per hour. So the oxytocin can be from 1 mil per hour going through the pump, 1 mil per hour, or 2 mils per hour, or 3 mils, 4 mils, 8 mils, 12 mils per hour. The assessor will, confirm it. So you ask the assessor, can you please confirm the mils per hour of oxytocin going through? She can maybe tell you it is 12. Okay, so 12 mils per hour. So you put the 12 there. So you put it there as 12. Now, let's move to the next part we have to fill. As I told you, it's supposed to be a 1 paper like that, but it was too big, so I had to print it on 2 pages. So moving on to the next part. Again, here you can see the hours there. So the first hour, second hour, third hour, fourth hour. So our hour is what? 1500 hours. All right. So drugs given. You can see from here that there's been some pre-filled drugs there. And this is Entonox, that's nitrous oxide. You can see the nitrous oxide, which is Entonox. So, if the hour that you were examining or plotting, or when you assess the patient, if the patient was on any drugs, okay, like maybe the patient was on Hartmann's solution, or the patient was, the scenario said that you just saved paracetamol, just put the drugs. So it says drugs given and IV fluids. So if maybe you gave the patient some antihistamine, maybe you give the patient antihistamine, maybe cyclizine or ondansetron, put it there. If you gave the patient is on, Hartmann's solution, IV fluid Hartmann's solution, put it there. If the patient is on the Entonox, so this one is a pre-filled something. I told you sometimes it will be pre-filled till your 4th hour that you have to plot your vaginal examination. But in this case, we decided to use the first line, all right? So let's say, for example, this patient was on IV fluid Hartmann's solution. So you can put it there like that. IV fluid Hartmann's. Then you can continue. Hartmann's solution, 1 liter. Okay, so it means that that hour, this was the medication the patient was on. If it was paracetamol, you serve the patient, just put it there. If you didn't give the patient any medication, leave it blank. Okay, leave it blank. Now let's move to the maternal well-being. So here, your patient's vital signs. Remember, if you get a labor scenario, you are not going to be giving Meows chart, you are going to be giving the Partogram. And so everything comes on here. The patient's vital signs and all that comes on here, because you can see pulse, blood pressure, temperature, the urinalysis is all here, okay? So you can see that it has given you the parameter that for pulse, use a dot, and blood pressure, use this arrow. So always read your partograph and see what symbol they want you to use to indicate. So let's say, for example, when you did the first the maternal observations, after confirming from the assessor, she told you the patient's heart rate is 80. So you put it there. So you can see that here, the horizontal lines, this is indicating the 60 line, 70 line, 80 line, 90, 100, 110, and so forth to 180. So if it is 80, you put it here. Let's say, for example, it was 85. So we bring it in the middle of 80. Have you seen that? So it's a dot. Then when you did the blood pressure, maybe your blood pressure was 140, 80. So this is the 140 line, and it is telling you to use the arrow. So you put your arrow there. Okay. And then you rule it down. If you have a ruler, it's better to use a ruler. Okay. So 140, 80. So that you can have a good straight line. But if you can do the straight line yourself, that's also fine. So that's it, 140/80. And that is it. So you do it in the line in the first 30 minutes, because remember 1500 hours 1530. So if you did it at 1500, you put it there. If your time was 1530, you put it there. Okay, then the temperature, so you put it, let's say for example the patient's temperature was 36.5 degrees Celsius, you put it there. All right, and then the patient's urinalysis. You know that in the assessment station you are going to do urinalysis, and they are going to give you a sample of it in a bottle to do your urinalysis, but you have to confirm from the assessor, what was the volume of my patient's urine output? Because when a patient urinates, it is not all the urine you are going to use for the dipstick test. Okay, it is just a portion of it. So the assessor will confirm to you, or it could also be stated in the scenario. So let's say for example the volume of urine the patient had was 500 mils, so you put it there, 500 mils. Okay, and then the protein. So this brings us to our CBT. So how we put our unit mil, okay, ml. All right, and then if you did when you did the dipstick test there were proteins in it, you put it there. If it was negative, just put negative. That side is big enough to write the full negative. Okay, try not to abbreviate. If there were ketones, let's say maybe 1 plus ketone, 2 plus, let's say for example this patient had 2 pluses protein, you put it there. Sorry, 2 pluses ketones, you put it there. Then the next thing is for you to sign. Okay, I usually just put my signature there or my initials, but some people will also put the, what was the candidate's name, Vida Henson. So some candidates will just put their initials, Vida Henson, and then sign against it as well. Okay, it is both accepted. It could be that nobody can tell you that this is not your signature. It's an exam. All they need to know is that you signed after you filled out your partograph. So at the end of it all, you can see that this partograph is fully filled. Okay, if you have any questions as to this video, just pop it in the comment section below and then we can answer you. If you also have any you think there was something that wasn't rightly done there, just pop it in the comment section. All right, I hope this helps you to pass your Midwifery OSCE APIE labor scenario station. God bless you all. It is still just been greatness. Take care and wish you success in your exam.